Are there a bunch of little girls in this one too? Hello, girls!
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 satisfying deaths of hated movie animated characters.
I'm not the monster here, you are! You and the rest of that fairy tale trash poisoning my perfect world.
For this list, we'll be looking at the most gratifying and well-deserved deaths that befell villainous animated characters. Which of these deaths did you find the most rewarding? Let us know in the comments. Number 20, Buddy Pine Syndrome, The Incredibles.
Turns out there are a lot of people, whole countries, who want respect, and they will pay through the nose to get it.
Some people take rejection with dignity and move on. Others just can't let go of their grudges. Despite not having any superpowers, young Buddy Pine dreams of becoming Mr. Incredible's sidekick.
I can fly. Can you fly?
Fly home, buddy. I work alone.
After getting turned down by his hero, he decides to take the supervillain route and becomes Syndrome. With an arsenal of destructive toys at his disposal, this megalomaniac aspires to crush his enemy. Syndrome goes too far, though, when he targets Mr. Incredible's family.
Oh, don't worry, I'll be a good mentor. Supportive, encouraging, everything you weren't.
As brilliant as Syndrome is, he's essentially a bratty child trapped in a grown man's body.
I knew you couldn't do it, even when you have nothing to lose. You're weak!
It's only appropriate that he's destroyed by his massive ego, as well as his poor fashion sense.
Oh, no.
Number 19, Lord Farquaad. Shrek. This beloved movie is a comedy, so it's hard to really hate any of the characters. Still, Lord Farquaad is certainly detestable.
Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make.
A short man with big ambitions, Farquaad orders Shrek to rescue Fiona so he can marry her and become king. Not only is the motive incredibly selfish, but Farquaad's personality is exceedingly grating. Luckily, he gets his comeuppance in the end. During the sham of a wedding, Farquaad is devoured by the same dragon that was protecting Princess Fiona. It's instant karma. If he didn't act on his selfish and power-hungry desires, he would still be alive today. Number 18, Charles Muntz. Up. They say never meet your heroes, and explorer Charles Muntz is a case in point. A deceitful man on the lookout for a giant bird specimen, Charles does a lot of nasty things, like setting a fire underneath Carl's house and kidnapping Russell.
Let me go!
Where's your elderly friend?
If kidnapping doesn't qualify him as a terrible human being, we do not know what would. Fortunately, it proves to be his demise. Muntz takes Russell aboard his airship, and this is exactly where Muntz meets his end. While chasing Russell and Kevin, Muntz gets caught in balloon lines and is dragged off the airship, falling to his death. It's a disturbing death, but satisfying nonetheless. The man was shooting at a child after all. Number 17, Scroop, Treasure Planet. Released during Disney's Rocky years, Treasure Planet bombed at the box office, but the movie still earned positive reviews for its imaginative story, which includes a murderous alien named Scroop. Scroop looks like a creepy mix between a spider and a crab, so we already kinda hate him. He also has a penchant for dastardly deeds, sending poor Mr. Arrow into a black hole. But Scroop forgot about karma. The insectoid dies in a very similar manner to Mr. Arrow, careening off into the vacuum of space once the ship's artificial gravity is disabled. Watching Scroop float away is satisfying enough. Watching him go out in a similar manner to Arrow makes it even better. Number 16, Dr. Facilier, The Princess and the Frog. Disney villains have a tendency to destroy themselves with the very power they seek.
This is just a minor setback in a major operation.
The Shadow Man is a prime example. As cool as they come, this witch doctor has complete confidence in his master plan.
Besides, you and I both know the real power in this world ain't magic, it's money. buckets of it.
He puts a little too much faith in dark magic, however, which results in his doom. Unable to pay his debt after his voodoo charm breaks, Dr. Facilier finds himself at the mercy of his friends on the other side. With no more tricks up his sleeve, he's dragged out of the shadows and down into the underworld.
I promise I'll pay your back. I promise.
The petrified face on Facilier's gravestone only makes his death more satisfying. Number 15, Mrs. Tweedy, Chicken Run. Aside from her adorable name, there's not much to like about Mrs. Tweedy. A mean woman who runs an egg farm, she abuses her husband and kills any chicken who fails to produce.
Just deal with it. Now.
In the midst of declining profits, she decides to convert her farm into a factory producing chicken pot pies. Somehow, Tweety survives the explosion of her pie machine despite being stuck in its safety valve. But then things get surprisingly dark. Just as she's growling at Mr. Tweedy, the barn door falls on top of her, and it looks like Mr. Tweedy might have pushed it. Her death is satisfying for viewers, although it comes at the expense of Mr. Tweedy's morality. Number 14, Sykes, Oliver and Company.
See myself.
Big, bad, and ruthless, Sykes views himself as untouchable.
Did we bring something green and wrinkly to make you happy?
So it's kind of ironic that a petty thief, a little girl, and a bunch of cute animals cause his downfall. In the climax of Oliver and Company, Sykes sets out to turn our heroes into roadkill.
But the party is over.
Behind the wheel of his dominating Cadillac, this loathsome loan shark seems like an indestructible force. Sykes takes the highway to hell, though, when he drives his car onto a third rail. Confronted by a towering train, Sykes meets his demise on a bridge. It's far from the first time a gangster's body has ended up at the bottom of the Hudson River, but it's not like he didn't have it coming. Number 13, Thrax, Osmosis Jones. This cute buddy cop movie is actually quite dark, considering that its primary antagonist is named after a deadly disease. Thrax is a virus that enters the body of Frank Dettori through an infected egg.
Ha! Now who's evolved?
Thrax is so deadly and dangerous that he threatens to kill his host within just 48 hours, forcing Frank's immune system to work overtime. Thrax is eventually sneezed out of Frank and ends up on his daughter's false eyelash. Luckily, Thrax is killed when the eyelash falls into a beaker of rubbing alcohol. Osmosis Jones has an inventive premise, and the death of its main antagonist is equally creative. Who knew watching a pathogen dissolve in rubbing alcohol could be so much fun? Number 12, Hopper, A Bug's Life. This opportunistic insect leads a gang of grasshoppers who demand food from a colony of ants.
So where is it? Where's my food?
Led by Flick, the ants rise up and fight back against their oppressors. But in the chaos of a sudden rainstorm, Hopper pursues Flick and begins to strangle him. Fortunately, Flick lured Hopper to this spot on purpose. Just in the nick of time, a curious and hungry bird arrives. Hopper's cockiness proves to be his downfall, and what a satisfying downfall it is. Thinking it's a trick, Hopper decides to taunt the bird, but it instead grabs him and feeds him to its babies.
Are there a bunch of little girls in this one too? Hello, girls!
It's gruesome, sure, but it's always nice to see such an arrogant character getting their comeuppance. Number 11, Ratigan, The Great Mouse Detective. This movie saved Disney following the commercial disappointment of The Black Cauldron. People were drawn to its fun story, which includes memorable antagonist Ratigan. Ratigan hopes to rule English mice society with the help of a mechanical robot, and he even has his henchmen kidnap the Queen of Mice from Buckingham Palace.
Take her away!
Let go of me, you ruffian!
Ratigan is probably the closest that Disney has ever come to a James Bond villain, and he goes out in the same manner as numerous Bond villains by falling to his death. Big Ben tolls and sends Ratigan careening off the clock tower, where he becomes just another nuisance for a street cleaner. Despite all his pompous gestures, Ratigan likely ended up in the garbage. Number 10. Shan Yu. Mulan. Despite Mulan being a very popular movie, Shan Yu is seldom mentioned among the best Disney villains, which is weird considering he's one of the most nefarious. Shan Yu is the leader of the Huns, and they invade China by killing numerous guards posted on the Great Wall. He also has no patience for decorum, as is evident when he has a fleeing man shot from behind.
How many men does it take to deliver a message?
One.
Luckily, Shan Yu dies in the most spectacular way possible. He's taken down by Mushu of all people, or all dragons, who sends Shan Yu flying into a fireworks display.
Get off the roof, get off the roof, get off the roof!
Shan Yu's death is quite violent, but at least it gave us a pretty light show. Number 9. Rourke. Atlantis, The Lost Empire. This underrated Disney film follows Milo Thatch, a timid linguist who joins an expedition to the lost city of Atlantis. The expedition is carried out by a gang of mercenaries led by Commander Rourke.
Well, believe me, this will be small change compared to the value of what we're going to learn on this trip.
Yes, this should be enriching for all of us.
However, Rourke has ulterior motives. He wants to steal the heart of Atlantis for himself and sell it on the surface for an exorbitant price. But Rourke suffers a very violent fate before his objective can be carried out. The otherwise timid Milo finally fights back and crystallizes Rourke with a magic shard of glass. The Rourke statue is then completely destroyed by the airship's propellers.
Thank heaven.
Not only is the death itself satisfying, but it beautifully concludes Milo's character arc from passive eccentric to action hero. Number 8. Maleficent. Sleeping Beauty. Maleficent walks a fine line between being a villain who we love to hate and a villain we hate to love.
Away with him.
Either way, she's definitely one of Disney's most dastardly villains, placing a deathly curse on an infant princess.
Well, here's your precious princess.
And to think, Maleficent only did that because she wasn't invited to a party. She breaks out the big guns in the film's climax, taking on the form of a fire-breathing dragon.
Now shall you deal with me, O prince, and all the powers of hell!
While Maleficent throws everything she has at our heroes, Prince Philip ultimately drives his sword through her dark heart. Good may triumph over the mistress of all evil, but at least Maleficent went out on a high note. Number 7. Mother Gothel. Tangled. Everyone must eventually face their mortality. Mother Gothel learns this the hard way. Kidnapping our long-haired heroine as a baby, this villain manipulates Rapunzel into believing that she's a caring, nurturing mother figure.
Rapunzel! Let down your hair!
Deep down in her shriveled up heart, it's possible that Mother Gothel has some affection for the young lady she calls her daughter. When push comes to shove, however, all she cares about is using Rapunzel's magical hair to preserve her own youth and beauty.
We are going where no one will ever find you again.
When Rapunzel's golden locks are chopped off, Mother Gothel's age finally starts to catch up to her. Unable to look at her decaying face in the mirror, she tumbles out the window and reaches her inevitable expiration. Number 6. Ursula, the Little Mermaid. Ursula is a villain of many different faces.
Now listen, this is important. Before the sun sets on the third day, you've got to get dear old Princey to fall in love with you.
She can be quiet and subtle, using her magic to steal Ariel's voice and Prince Eric's heart. This sea witch can also be booming and bombastic, particularly when she gets her hands on King Triton's all-powerful trident.
You monster!
Fool with me, you little brat!
Growing to a monstrous size, Ursula nearly sends the Little Mermaid to a watery grave.
The sea and all its toils bow to my power!
Prince Eric storms in at just the right time, though, and impales her with a ship. This scene gave us all the nightmares as children, but we can take comfort in knowing that Ursula is now sleeping with the fishes. Number 5. Evil Queen. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It's impossible not to fall in love with Snow White.
Hello there. What's the matter? Where's your mom and papa?
You'd have to be completely heartless to harm such a kind, pure soul. That's exactly why we despise the evil queen so much.
A formula to transform my beauty into ugliness.
When her huntsman can't get the job done, the jealous queen uses her dark magic to transform herself into a hag and kills the innocent princess with a poison apple.
And now, a special sort of death for one so fair.
The wicked queen comes close to crushing the 7 dwarves with a boulder as well. Fortunately, a bolt of lightning intervenes and gives Queen Grimhilda as the witch her comeuppance, after which vultures make sure there's nothing left of the queen's body. Meanwhile, the dwarves preserve Snow White's body so she may be awakened by true love's kiss. Number 4. Scar, the Lion King.
I see.
This evil uncle is as ambitious as he is merciless. In order to claim the Pride Lands, the devious lion murders his older brother.
Long live the king.
As if that's not appalling enough, Scar also plots to kill his nephew, who's only a cub.
Well, I was first in line, until the little hairball was born.
Slipping through his uncle's claws, Simba runs away into exile. Sometime later, he returns to show Scar who the true king is.
Step down, Scar.
Oh, okay, well, I would, naturally. However, there is one little problem. You see them.
Despite his unforgivable deeds, Scar is given a chance to run away and never return. The dethroned villain refuses to accept defeat, though, and an epic catfight ensues.
As you wish, Your Majesty.
This proves to be Scar's undoing, as he's sent to the bottom of Pride Rock where his hungry minions greet him.
No, let me explain. No, you don't understand.
It's the Circle of Death. Number 3. Clayton, Tarzan. This death is widely considered one of the darkest in the Disney canon, and for good reason, but it's also very rewarding. Clayton is a hunter escorting Porter and Jane through the forest, but he eventually develops a greedy fascination with the gorillas and wishes to capture and sell them.
This is your fault. I should have followed my instincts and set traps for the beast.
He even kills Kerchak, and that's when viewers began asking for blood. In the end, Clayton greatly underestimates the power of the forest and accidentally hangs himself on a bunch of vines. It's a brutal sequence containing one of the most violent images ever seen in a Disney film, but it's not like viewers had sympathy for Clayton. Quite the opposite, in fact. We were glad to see him go. Number 2. Gaston, Beauty and the Beast. Gaston actually starts off as one of the more likable Disney villains.
A pleasant surprise.
Isn't it though? I'm just full of surprises.
Granted, he is rude, insensitive, and full of himself.
And now that I'm grown, I eat 5 dozen eggs, so I'm roughly the size of a barge.
While we can see why Belle isn't attracted to him, there is a certain charm to his pompous nature. Throughout Beauty and the Beast, however, Gaston goes from being a selfish jerk to a sadistic monster that'll do anything to get what he wants.
I might be able to clear up this little misunderstanding.
If what?
If you marry me.
In the midst of a heated battle for Belle's hand, the Beast takes pity on the whimpering Gaston and lets him leave peacefully. Gaston's hunter instinct kicks in, though, and he stabs his prey in the back. As he's beyond the point of redemption, it's hard to feel bad for Gaston when he ultimately plummets to his death after losing his footing.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Judge Claude Frollo, the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Frollo might just be the biggest sinner the Mouse House has ever given us. This cruel justice minister murders an innocent mother, attempts to drown her deformed child, burns down people's homes, and lusts after a Romany woman he plans to either kill or make his own.
Destroy Esmeralda and let her taste the fires of hell.
Although he's broken every commandment in the good book, Frollo is still convinced that all of his heinous acts are justified.
Think of your mother!
Before he can do away with Quasimodo, Frollo loses his balance atop Notre Dame and comes face to face with a devilish sight. As the flames of hell rage below, he's sent to meet his maker. We'd say may the Lord have mercy on his soul, but Frollo has no soul to save.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.